Hello. All right. Hey, this is a Friday that I did so much work earlier in the week. It's like I've done my time. I stopped at 5 o'clock local time. That's amazing. Um, so I have a series of videos that I would like to do, which of course are on flippy card graph cards. But I don't have a flippy graph card for this video. This video is itself. And a subject I don't often do, which is just uh, what I'm, what would you call it? The minutia of what I'm going through, something like that. What I'm going through. And it's a positive video, one I would not make because I'd be guilty. Like, hey, everything's okay. I'm bragging because generally life sucks. So it must be a problem if I say, hey, I'm doing okay at the moment, I think. But I'm not sure. I'm worried still. So, first of all, and I think you can figure out how far to fast forward if you feel the need. Since this is a video about my life as I see it, as I experience it, my filmy strip, I decided to share with you a song, one of my favorite songs, though there's many, many favorite songs from this particular guy, from one of my very few favorite, most favorite musicians, Jonathon Richman. I can't hear it.
Well, it's 8 o'clock. My favorite Boston. See, there's the Filenes and the Gilchrists. They have just locked up. It's so good
Just
to see the stars for me, because we haven't lost. I love Boston. Well, it's time to fly into the mystery. I want to drive out of the car past Beverly. So pretty. Gonna fly into the mystery. Into the mystery.
Come on, my end. This is pretty good.
Now when
This
it's
guy
8
is
o'clock.
seminal.
Here it is, 8 o'clock.
He's like a
Boston's
god grandfather of
The
punk.
hard-working boyfriend has lost his girlfriend.
He's from
Now he
Boston.
wished she would stay around, but she's restless and knew it was time to go
He
away.
wrote that song Pablo Picasso is an
She
asshole.
had to go. She saw the time to fly into the mystery.
It's a fun song to play.
She's not coming back for a while to Beverly. You get tired. She had to fly into the mystery. Into the mystery.
I said you could. It says right on it how long it is. So good.
Now it's 8 o'clock in waterfront Boston, and Filene's has just locked up. It's so good to see all those stars, you know. I'm glad they're there, and we haven't lost them in Boston. It's time to fly into the mystery. Gonna drive on out, go way past Beverly. We're gonna fly into the mystery, fly into the mystery.
Nice, huh? He's great. You should see his songs about being in the lesbian bar. And as I said during the song, he wrote Pablo Picasso was never called an asshole. And What's that one about? I'm not stoned. Just great, 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 and part of the history of music as well. Trump bombs Syria. What? I better go look at the news. No, I was monitoring that last night as the MAGA Trumps, MAGA Trumpians were bailing. He conned us. So I got the answer to one of my questions. This isn't supposed to be the subject of this video. About what would it take for them to feel that he conned them. Some people have yet to realize they were suckered. I hope you do okay when you realize it. But that's not what this is about. I thought this would be a very simple thing, which is I got a desk. I've been working on tables like those. They're not exactly cheap, but it costs like $60 for a 6-foot or 8-foot one. But like those plastic tables to be out there at a wedding or, summertime relocatable fold up leg type tables. And I've been working on that because I'm humble. Now, I bought a decent chair, but still, what it was a high-end chair that's not a high-end chair. It's like of the chairs that are going to wear out because they're not that great made, it'll be good while it lasts. And that chair was falling apart. I had chunks coming out of it. So I wanted to go get a chair at Staples. That's an interesting story. Well, not actually interesting, but that's a story right there. But I was also, it's time for me. It's been 3 years to buy a proper desk. It's just a better surface. Plus, those tables are like 6 inches longer. Maybe it's only 4 inches, or thicker, longer to the wall, back. They're that much longer, so I only have enough room, and I've got to have a U. I need ideally 360 degrees of computers, but I kind of have to settle for the 270 thing. So far, maybe I would like an office where I could go up some steps onto my chair from below and just be in a circle of computers. That's my long-term goal. But I'm 3/4 of my way to having that. Again, a distraction. So I thought it was time to buy a desk. Now, I like cheap, not because it's cheap, but utilitarian furniture. It's actually hard to find, but the offices obviously buy it. And, I don't want drawers. You look up desks on the internet, you get desks with wood and mahogany, which is great, but drawers. I don't want drawers. I need that desk with all knee space pretty much as possible, so I can go around because I got multiple computers. Like there's this computer, and then this is the computer I work on day to day. This is the screens of my new computer that I'm, was kind of off to the side. It was really, it was hard to get to, so you can't work there for 4 hours if it's with the wrong height or whatever. So this, now what I've got is this desk, that's sectional. It goes all the way from over here, all the way here. Ooh, curves. And then goes to there. So that was going to be like $700 to buy. But I found, and by I mean my wife found, because I was like, I don't like shopping, and I'd searched for all this furniture, and need help. Because I'm a liberal cuck. Trick her into helping me. Man, I think that term is so funny, because if one of these little alt-right dweebs, old, young, whatever, when they call you a cuck, it's like they're admitting to fantasizing about sleeping with my wife, which is a person that I don't even know. And it happens, if you're in the comments, people call you that now because that's what they're into, those guys. Again, not the subject of this video. So I got a desk, so I'm pretty much, this is awesome. And then this chair, I went to Staples because I want to be able to sit in the chair. I'm kind of in the boondocks, so there's a Staples. And there's only one chair that actually locks in a leaning position. There were some other ones that would lock the the back leaning, but the back was like doing this. This stayed the same. Whereas old school 4-function chair, you could do this and lock it. Now I have a feeling they're stopping to do that because when you lock the chair back like this and it becomes like a bucket, it's not particularly ergonomic if that's the way you sit all the time. But the secret, people, if you do desk jobs, the secret to ergonomics and avoiding repetitive stress kinds of problems, that's usually in your wrists and arms, fingers, but the same kind of thing with back pain. The secret is not finding the perfect angle for everything. The secret is to move yourself around, and most of that, is a chair that goes up and down and at different angles. And even if you can handle it, moving the mouse from one side to the other using a different hand, you find it's not that hard. And this really, I had some repetitive motion symptoms all the way back into my 20s. And what I did was I got a little Wacom pad at work. I said, hey, look, I need another mouse pointer. And so on one side, I had a little pen, and I used the pad for my mouse. On the other side, I kept my mouse. Plus, I started moving my mouse back and forth, like at home and other places. Totally solved it. Basically, they had brought an ergonomics person in who finally said something other than, here's what you're supposed to do. It's like this, be your eye level. And the main thing was to move around, right? It's repetitive motion. You change your angle in your desk a little higher, a little lower, move your chair, change the angle of your chair, even if it's in an uncomfortable position. Now, if it's in an uncomfortable enough position all day, you might be sore that day. But repetitive motion wise, you'd still be better off. And you don't have to do it to the point of being uncomfortable. It's just like, you lean back and do that. So the thing is, it said it was $100, this chair. And that's like the low end of the chairs at Staples. And the high end is like 300, maybe 400, a couple of them. And I'm not going to buy that expensive a chair from, I'd buy Herman Miller or something and just trust it over online or drive into the city or something. But I was thinking, I work, this chair is an ergonomically important thing. And this time, instead of getting one that started to fall apart after a couple of years that I lived with for another year, maybe get one a little better. So I thought, 200, 250, something like that. And this one was $99, and it was the only one, and it's comfy, and it was the only one. It doesn't have these rubber kind of that dries up and cracks. It's a fake leather kind of thing instead. And it was great. And turns out it was $250 when I got it. It's like mislabeled. And those guys gave it to us for $100. I still would have paid $250 for it because, it was the best chair in the budget that I thought. I mean, it's more like a $200 chair or whatever. So how good is that? So my life's doing pretty good. Plus, I got this house, and I don't want to brag about it. I mean, believe me, I deal with depression every day. PTSD-oriented depression. So, but then I feel bad trying to emphasize that to show that, I'm not trying to brag. I just figured I'd make a live video. My whole life, I'm 49, my whole life, finally, and that's 48, managed to buy a house. I was lucky with that too, because I've been contracting, and no matter how much money you're making contracting, and it was iffy because then you lose your job. Contracting, you lose your job any minute. You could be working for a company, the company does well, so you lose your job because they can afford to hire people. You know what I mean? Or it does bad, and so they can't afford contractors. Anything can happen. Which I have embraced. I enjoy that feeling of independence because at the same time, as an independent contractor, 1099 kind of contractor, they legally can only tell you what they want you to accomplish. They're not allowed to micromanage you, like legally, or else they could get in trouble with the IRS. So I like that. But makes it hard to buy a house because you have to do that for many years, and even then it's bank by bank. So I got a job with the local company also because I was like, oh, I want to work with a local company. I love Maine so much because that's the only local company I worked with. I mean, I worked with the company in Santa Fe, in Denver. Well, the Santa Fe company moved to Denver once they got the next round of funding. I worked with Folsom, a company in Folsom, a big Fortune whatever company in Folsom, and this company I'm working through now is in Seattle. The client is in Virginia and Denver. So it's like I worked with this one company and I took a huge pay cut and whatnot. And I kind of moved. I was like 3 hours from that company working remotely, so local, not totally normal, but in the state. And then I moved an hour from them, partly so I'd be close to them, but really I turned out it was too overpriced where I was living because it's a national park. It's rich. Martha Stewart lives there and stuff in the summer anyway, and whatnot. It's overpriced, especially for Maine, especially since everywhere around it is like the most remote and somewhat troubled part, which I didn't mind that, but to be overpriced now. So we came down here by family when I was closer, and they turned out to be just such a psychotic, like their Glassdoor reviews. One of them is like, it's not quite like getting PTSD from a job, but it's as close as you can get, things like that. So, but the funny thing is, since it wasn't a contract, it was like a contract to me because I worked there 4 months until it was like gonna have to part ways. It's just not working out. I'm like, it's working out. I made this stuff. It's not working out. And that guy got fired. Anyway, this place is like Lord of the Flies. That's a whole nother set of stories. But anyway, since it was regular employment, and Maine is an will at will state, right? Or what do they call it? It's like something that means they can fire you at will, right to work, right to work state. And so, as an employee, it turned out like they didn't do certain things that are standard in my position in the industry. Like in my industry, when you let somebody go, you have to pay them at least 2 weeks. I mean, 2 weeks isn't enough. Generally, it's 3 months. And if you don't do that, you're going to have trouble getting, it's just, you're not by industry standards, right? So not all businesses give a shit about that, and I know that, but I still didn't expect it. And the thing is, since I didn't have a contract, I was an employee. I didn't have a contract. You have no rights. Right to work state means as an employee, you have no rights. A contractor actually has more rights. Yeah, he knows he could be let go at any moment. He knows he might not get paid for his last bill if they're pissed or whatever. But there's rights, there's legal rights because you made an agreement, a contract. However, since I had that job for 4 months, the mortgage companies and the first time home buyer, FHA loans or whatever, I was eligible. So that's how I managed to get the house. So it was like one of my more negative, possibly the most negative. Yeah, I guess you would have to say it's the most negative experience I'd had, but I learned from it. I'm fine with it. I enjoyed it. But it enabled me to get this house that I've wanted, and I could have paid the mortgage on the house. I paid rent all this fucking time. I could have bought a house. 30 years I've been paying rent. I could have bought this house for cheaper if I could have started buying it 30 years ago, and I could have afforded to pay the payment 30 years ago. It's just weird how working class people get locked out of things, even things they could afford, because of things like how credit works. I mean, because like I have family that's contractors and things like that, and masons and whatnot, and so they have their own businesses. They do contract work. And so when you go to get a loan, oh, it's super hard though. So, but we struggle and whatnot. My uncle and aunt got a house decades ago now. A boulder had actually rolled down and was sitting in one of the bedrooms. And he's like, okay, we'll take it. They got a great deal. But he was a mason, so he made a retaining wall, and he actually hit the rock with a hammer to break every bit of it up, take it out, rebuild the floor and whatnot. Never had a problem again. So we have to be clever. In my case, it was taking a job, which there were signs. I had like stars in my eyes of I'm going to help and be local. And, that didn't work out. But I had this benefit that if I'd plotted just on that, and I did think about that, I'm like, well, even if it goes wrong, at least, boom, we'll buy a house real quick. So, and it's in the woods, and it's just like 3/4 of an acre, which is great. But this is the woods. People have acres and acres sometimes, but not usually like right by the lake. And it's on the lake. I would like this house if it was just in the woods, the snow and everything. Oh, it's just. And right now there's little rivers running through the ice and snow as it's melting. Things are starting to heat up. So it's the best time of my life in that regard. But I'm cynical about things that I've been through. I have deep seated anger towards certain places and stuff. Right now, I'm working on trying to forgive. In the process of blaming myself for things that I and people around me have been through. What happens when a lot of people resist blaming themselves. They're missing out in many ways. When you go right to blaming other things, there's some relief in, oh, it's that thing's fault. But what I've always done, and it's not necessarily a good thing, you'll see what I mean in the end, there's a similar aspect if you end up blaming other things. When you blame yourself and walk through, I could have done this different, I could have done that, and you're honest, you'll find things that like, oh, that was all on me. Oh, I remember making that decision. Oh, I even told all my friends and family about that decision and made it wrong. You also find out, oh, but so did this person told me to do that, or this could have happened, or the mistake I made was letting this person into my life, or whatever. You made mistakes where the problem was I let that other person fucked things up. And you end up blaming a lot of things. However, if you do it in that order, you still blame yourself. So there's a certain kind of humility. And I'm trying now to use that humility to forgive the other aspects to certain degrees. Now, there's certain people, things and aspects that the very idea that I'd be working towards forgiving them is disgusting. Okay. But when you do forgive people, there's a rolling nature to how it unfolds where certain people's forgiveness that you give them comes with because they're not much, right? Like they did this thing and then you realize, oh my God, I'm blaming a mentally ill person for a pattern. And you go back to the blame of yourself of, I saw that pattern for decades and decades before this problem came from it. So why did I let that? I should have seen that person was really this way, not the way I thought, the fantasy that I had in my brain when I was making the mistakes, but I should have known how they really were, and I wouldn't have let them, tend the fire and burn the house down. I wouldn't have let them whatever. So the blame is not fully outside. You also are accepting it, but what crystallizes is a sense of what happened, which causally, what happened, you and everybody else, and random events, the weather, whatever, how it all added up. And of course, your idea, that's just your idea of this crystalline causal network. and you could be wrong. In a way, you inherently must be wrong in certain aspects, and maybe in a major way. So I'm not saying that's entirely better. I do think emotionally it's better, and one reason is because it allows you to get to a point where you can understand and forgive things for what for their causal contribution to your own misery or the misery of people you care about, or you care about all misery. You can explain that and realize that they also were in a similar situation. They also had a million causal things trickling down through history that led to them being the way they are, which led to them making a mistake that maybe even they think is a mistake, or they don't know about it and could be a mistake. And because in the morning sometimes I wake up and I have a big stack of gripes, like a Pez full of gripes, and I have to spit them out. Ping, ping. I take a long shower in the tub and in the dark and with the lights and water and calm down because I have to deprogram. It's like a lot of angst or whatever. But I'm able to do that, I think, because really it's just silly. I mean, and I'm not saying it's not fancy or anything. Um, except for the fact that in my book, I'm from California. To be able to live on the water is a fancy thing. However, we got lakes coming out of our ass up here. You could easily, for the price of an ordinary house anywhere else I've ever lived, rural California, lots of places, Sioux Falls, a reasonable price house, it could be on water because there's fucking water all over. But I mean, it's kind of a cabin. The floor of this office isn't exactly level. It's a partly finished basement and stuff. But I've never wanted a mansion 6,000 feet. In my book, this is exactly, I mean, I just wanted, moving to Maine, the dream was, a little house in the woods. I love the woods. And this is in the woods, and I'm down a dirt road, which is always important. And I think it's giving me the room to move to that place where, okay, all of the blame that I have for the world and other things, I can see to accepting it the way it is. And then maybe I accept that about my own contribution afterwards. That's how it kind of works. You blame yourself, you find out everything that other people have done. Your brain naturally obsesses on that. You process that, and it comes back to the stuff your brain naturally tries to shove out, which is, oh yeah, I did that. But that's how life is. Sometimes you do that wrong. Fuck it, we'll do it live, Mr. Mike. All right. Well, I'm going to make a couple series of videos, and I'm going to take some 5-minute breaks in between because otherwise sometimes they get stuck together as the same video. I like this kind of about my life video, after all. On the other hand, just my innate nature is like, I don't like saying that I like my situation. I hate admitting that. Though I would have always said that my whole life, even when it was the shittiest time. So it's weird. But this is definitely not the shittiest time. This is definitely the best time of my life so far. And it's scary. We're winging it. I never know. Like, my job could end next month. But it doesn't seem like it. But I'm certainly not believing promises or anything. Otherwise, the whole point of contracting is it's very at will. Oh, we had to stop building the amphitheater. Sorry. Oh, I don't have the money to finish the sauna that you were building, Mr. Carpenter. So, all right. I'll be back in a minute. Oh, and if anybody would like a hangout, I might be up for that when I'm done with my videos. So leave a comment if you're around. I saw Vic in a Hard Case Owns You comment thread, the Hard Case Owns You video. And I was like, hi, and he didn't say hi back. But Vic, I would like to talk to Vic again. I think it's fair to admit that. All right, cheers. Almost hit the wrong button. The wrong bouton.